Part 35. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 342. As expected, the meat was juicy, sweet, and extremely delicious. The blue snake ate one and immediately picked another. Lei didn't want to eat fruit at first, but seeing Len Ning and blue snake eating happily, he couldn't help but pick a grape. When the grapes entered his mouth, his taste buds enjoyed the sweet taste, and Lei felt a little indulged in them. Brother Lan, have the people who went to deliver the goods from the military department come back? How is your arms sales today? Len Ning asked Lan Snake with a smile while eating fruit. Cough cough, blue snake almost choked. Then he suppressed his physical discomfort and looked at Thunder. But Lei was also looking at him, with a questioning look in his eyes. Seeing that his boss had no intention of hiding anything from Len Ning, Blue Snake finally looked at Len Ning again. I'm back. Arms sales are okay, he then replied. Len Ning's eyes lit up with joy. What about our payment? He asked immediately. Haha, I thought why she followed him to find his eldest brother. It's not just to get the payment for this batch of vegetables from their vegetable base as soon as possible. Those are 30 space jades. She shouldn't ask for it in front of her eldest brother, and I'm afraid it won't be that easy to get it back. In particular, the 4 hall masters are currently short of space and jade. Blue Snake looked at Thunder again. Boss, you promised before that I will receive the base representative today and give me 2 extra space jade pieces as a reward. What do you want me to ask you? Who knew that Lei not only didn't speak for him, but instead urged him. He looked exactly like Len Ning. Blue Snake's face instantly turned uglier than crying. Before Lei's eyes became unhappy, he finally reluctantly took out the space jade from his space ring. Len Ning looked happy and quickly stood up to get the space jade in Blue Snake's hand. Blue Snake was extremely reluctant to give up, but could only watch as Len Ning took the space jade away from his hand. Looking at the pitiful appearance of Blue Snake, Lei coughed lightly, reminding him to pay attention to his image. Blue Snake. Thank you, Brother Lan. With these 30 space jades, the efficiency of our vegetable base will definitely be higher. Take it all to the vegetable base. Blue Snake looked up at Len Ning, and then looked at Thunder. The military headquarters of the vegetable base still holds half of the shares, and their other departments are also short of space. Yeah. Work hard. Lei seemed not to see the Blue Snake and encouraged Len Ning. Thank you, brother, Len Ning smiled sweetly. Blue Snake. Looking at the harmonious brother and sister in front of him, he wanted to tell them what was going on. The 2 space jades promised to you will be given to you later. Maybe the Blue Snake's eyes were too annoying, Lei finally said with an impatient look. Look at this little bit of potential, aren't they just 2 space jades? Thank you, boss. Blue Snake's face was instantly happy, and the previous grievances disappeared instantly. Just get used to it. Anyway, just don't miss me. Len Ning was stunned and seemed to understand something. But she was going to play dumb. Haha, Brother Lan, do the major bases have any feedback on our vegetable base? Len Ning asked Lan Shi with a smile. Blue Snake immediately took out a stack of documents from the space ring. These are the orders brought back by the deliveryman. Blue Snake said and handed the documents directly to Len Ning. These bases in the future will send special personnel to pick up the goods, so we don't have to go there ourselves. Len Ning's eyebrows were filled with joy and she quickly took the receipt. This order can't come too soon. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 343. Glancing at the receipt that Len Ning took over, the Blue Snake's eyes were filled with envy. Although the products from the vegetable base are sold cheaply, they cannot cover the large quantity. Miss, the sales volume of a vegetable base is no less than the turnover of their military arsenal. Okay. When the guests arrive, I will arrange for someone to connect with them. There is no need to trouble brother Lan in the future. Len Ning smiled and received the receipt into his space ring. Yes. Xiaoning, you can decide the quotation information yourself. From now on, you don't need to go through me for vegetable base matters. Lei Lei's face was full of doting. Blue snake. Ahem, I suddenly remembered that there are still some things that have not been arranged. Blue snake couldn't stand it anymore and stood up. If he stayed any longer, he was afraid that his invincible light bulb would blind him. Thunder glanced at Blue Snake and then looked away. No intention of staying. Brother Lan, let's go slowly. Len Ning squeezed Lan Shi's hand mischievously, but did not hold back. The Blue Snake had no choice but to leave. After Blue Snake went out and closed the door, Len Ning stood up and sat down next to Lei Ting. The kind that sticks on. Lei Lei's body, which had been relaxed just now, suddenly tensed up. I've been busy all day and I'm exhausted. Big brother, please give me a squeeze on my shoulders, Len Ning said to Lei Lei with a smile. Brother's expression is so funny. Fun. Brother, seeing Lei Ting being stunned and not answering, Len Ning shouted. Oh, okay, Lei Lei replied hoarsely. As soon as the words came out, I realized that the tone of my voice was wrong, and I quickly calmed down and kept my expression unchanged. Len Ning smiled slyly and turned sideways, leaving his back to Thunder. Looking at the graceful back of the girl in front of him and the dazzling white neck, his heart beat like thunder. Len Ning shook his neck, touched the back of his neck and stretched it twice. Brother, hurry up, then he urged coquettishly. Oh, Lei Lei quickly calmed down again. Then he stretched out his big hand and put it on Len Ning's shoulder. The girl's frame was very petite, and after he put his big hands on her shoulders, the result seemed more vivid in comparison. After hesitating for a second, Lei Lei finally pinched Len Ning's shoulders. Knowing that his hands were strong, Lei Lei did not dare to use force for fear of hurting Len Ning. Just looking at the white and tender neck that occasionally shook in front of him, Lei Lei felt a little confused. Oh, brother, please use a little more strength, Len Ning shouted quickly without feeling the force of the thunder. Yeah, Lei Lei subconsciously increased his strength. Ah, big brother, it hurts, Len Ning shouted immediately. Lei Lei regained consciousness in an instant. Xiaoning, I'm sorry, I and then apologized in a panic. It's okay, keep going, brother, don't stop. Len Ning shook his neck and continued. At this time, the red fox outside the door was already blushing and shocked. Strangely, I met Blue Snake outside just now, and he looked at me with such eyes, so daring. The boss is so powerful, so quickly. No, the lady is still more powerful. That just now, haha, what a tiger and wolf thing. Encountering such a situation, the red fox knew that he should evacuate as soon as possible and come back later. But Red Fox looked left and right, making sure that the building was closed and no one would come. Then he actually came forward and put his ear against it. In the room, Lei Lei continued to squeeze Len Ning's shoulders. After just now, he has found the right strength. It's so comfortable. Brother, your skills are so good, Len Ning said with a hint of enjoyment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 344. Red Fox, my dear, what's your craft? Didn't you realize that the boss, an old seaman, actually understands this? Okay, big brother, you've had a hard day. Let me give you a push. Len Ning thought it was almost done, so he said to Lei Ting. Red Fox, I didn't see it, the lady is quite fierce. Press. What is this operation? No, I didn't. Lei Ting knew that he was abnormal, so he refused directly if he dared to let Len Ning approach him. Oh, what's the point of being so polite to my sister, but Len Ning had already stood up, and then turned to look at him. "Red Fox, that's it, come on, miss. Come on, knock down old man see. Turn around." Len Ning suppressed the shyness in his heart and said to Lei Ting. She was so busy these days that she didn't have much time to be alone with her eldest brother. "Now that I finally have an opportunity, I naturally have to take advantage of it." She had to let her eldest brother know that women are better than men, especially her sister, the best. Thanks to Len Ning's misjudgment of Lei Ting, she abandoned her shyness and became a hero who wanted to save her elder brother. Lei Lei had no choice but to turn his back. Len Ning hurried forward, put his little hand on Lei Ting's shoulder, and squeezed it for him. Lei Ting seemed to have a well-proportioned body, not showing much muscle, but when Len Ning squeezed it, she realized that Lei Ting's flesh was so strong that she was surprised. In order to prevent Lei Ting from feeling numb, Len Ning deliberately increased his strength. Fortunately, she is a strong person with special abilities and has lots of energy. "Brother, is this strength okay? Is it comfortable?" Len Ning asked Lei Ting while squeezing. "Red Fox, comfortable no?" Well, in her mind, little people were already fighting and savagely attacking each other. "Yeah," Lei Lei responded. "My shoulders definitely feel better." Suddenly "Who is at the door?" Lei Lei suddenly looked in the direction of the door and asked in a deep voice. At the same time, the pressure on his body was released. Almost immediately, the red fox outside the door felt a strong sense of oppression. The sudden pressure made her lose her center of gravity in an instant, and she suddenly hit the door, making a sound. The red fox rolled his eyes. Now that he was discovered, he really couldn't run away. "Boss, it's me." Feeling that the pressure was still increasing, Red Fox hurriedly spoke out. "This is terrible. She ruined the boss's good deeds. What should we do?" "Come in," Thunder said angrily when he heard Red Fox's voice. Because she was disturbed by Xiao Ning just now, she didn't notice anyone eavesdropping at the door, and she didn't know how long she had been listening. Red Fox eavesdropping on his master's conversation, he is getting more and more courageous. The Red Fox was so frightened by Thunder's warning voice that he closed his eyes. "Boss, are you sure?" then he asked anxiously. She wanted to go in and take a look now, but she was afraid that she would see something she shouldn't see. "Thunder." Seeing that Lei Lei's face had turned completely black, Len Ning hurriedly patted Lei Lei on the shoulder and shouted outside, "Sister Honghu, come in." The Red Fox was stunned and finally realized something was wrong. Feeling anxious, he unscrewed the door lock and entered the house. When he saw Len Ning standing next to Lei Ting with his hand still on Lei Ting's shoulder, Red Fox finally knew what happened in the room just now. Her beautiful fantasy just now turned out to be a misunderstanding. Lei Ting's expression turned even worse when he saw Red Fox still staring at Len Ning after entering the door. "Boss." Before Thunder could say anything, Red Fox quickly bowed and lowered his head. At the same time, her pretty face turned pale. "It's over now." The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 345. Len Ning saw the serious atmosphere at the scene and hurried out to smooth things over. "Sister Honghu, do you have anything to do with your elder brother?" "Yes." Red Fox then remembered that she was called by Thunder. The secretary only told her to finish her work and come to the boss's office, without mentioning any specific matters. Red Fox wanted to raise her head and ask Lei Lei what he wanted from her, but she didn't have the guts. Len Ning saw Red Fox's fear and looked at Thunder. Seeing that his expression did not change, he pinched his shoulder directly with his little hand. Thunder felt the pain and looked at Len Ning. Seeing her winking at him, he had no choice but to finally remove the pressure. The pressure on the Red Fox suddenly disappeared, and his breathing became much easier. Finally, he had the courage to look up at Lei Lei. At this moment, their boss still looked serious, not hiding his bad mood at the moment. Fortunately, The lady was also beside the boss, and she was still smiling at her. With Len Ning around, Red Fox was naturally relieved. At least the boss will definitely not punish himself in front of the young lady. "Boss," the secretary asked. "I came to find you," Red Fox said, suppressing the fear in his heart. Thunder finally glanced at Red Fox. After a 5-second pause, and seeing Len Ning acting coquettishly towards him again, begging for Red Fox's mercy, Lei finally decided to let Red Fox go. He said, "The laboratory pill samples will be out soon. Mass production and factory matters will be completed by you in cooperation with Xiaoning." The Red Fox was stunned. "Yes," he said excitedly immediately. Of course she knew about the lab pills, they were a good thing. The boss can give her this job, which is considered a great favor. Red Fox looked at Len Ning and saw her blinking at him. There was a sudden guess in my mind. She is the only female among the 4 hall masters. The boss gave her this task, maybe it was for this reason. Looking at the 2 affectionate brothers and sisters opposite, Red Fox felt that this possibility was extremely high. Tisk their boss, as soon as he gets involved with the young lady, he becomes a completely different person. "Thank you, brother," Len Ning also smiled and thanked Lei. "If you need anything, tell Red Fox directly. When the pharmaceutical factory has production, half of it will be given to the military," Lei said directly. Originally, he didn't want to take Xiaoning's pills, but the juice was too powerful and the military department needed it very much. Moreover, he had previously given Xiaoning half of the shares in the vegetable base, despite the obstruction of the 4 major hall masters. If he was still so biased in the matter of the pharmaceutical factory, he was afraid that the 4 major hall masters would not dare to have an opinion against him, but would dare to target Xiaoning. "Sure. Brother, if you don't tell me, I think so too," Len Ning said with a smile. "They are a family, and what is hers is the eldest brother's. Besides, she still has to work under her eldest brother. In fact, strictly speaking, both the vegetable base and the pharmaceutical factory belong to him." Seeing Len Ning's understanding, Lei raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and the unhappiness just now completely dissipated. When the Red Fox heard Len Ning's words, he admired Len Ning a little more in his heart. She had already heard about the situation at the vegetable base today, and this was within her expectation. The young lady is no longer the young lady before the apocalypse, but now her strength is no less than that of anyone in their 4-color group. Maybe even stronger than her. It was only a matter of time before the lady became the 5th hall master of the Thunder base. However, becoming the hall leader means having your own power. Since ancient times, money and power have not separated families. With a vegetable base like a hen that lays golden eggs, the future of the young lady is naturally unlimited. There is also a pharmaceutical factory. If it is used well, its gold-producing ability is probably not inferior to that of the vegetable base. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 346. Giving half of the production to the military for nothing, the value here is inestimable. However, the Red Fox also knew that if the young lady really swallowed such an important thing, she would probably incur the wrath of the military headquarters. Even if the boss can protect her by then, she may not be very happy. Overall, she took the initiative to hand over half, which was the best result. Not only does it not cause dissatisfaction, it actually wins a good reputation. "Sister Honghu, starting from tomorrow, I will report to your office in the afternoon," Len Ning said, walking towards Honghu with a smile. "Okay, when we get back I'll ask the secretary to clean up and make room for you in my office," Red Fox said cheerfully. "Use the office next to mine," Len Ning was about to say thank you, but unexpectedly, he heard Lei say behind him. The Red Fox's expression froze. "Boss, this is really. In a while, you will be the 5th hall master of the Thunder base. The office has made arrangements for you in advance, Lei Lei said directly. Len Ning's face suddenly became happy. Thank you, brother, he quickly thanked him. Lei Lei pursed his lips slightly and was in a good mood. Red Fox dash. Boss, this expression doesn't suit you. Then I'll try my best to spare some time in the afternoon to discuss arranging the pharmaceutical factory with you. Not daring to look at Lei Lei anymore, Red Fox focused his attention on Len Ning again. Okay, Len Ning agreed readily. She can't let go of the vegetable base yet, so she should be able to free up half a day to work on the pharmaceutical factory. I suddenly remembered that I still have some unfinished business. Boss, I want to leave first. Noticing that Lei Lei was already looking at him with impatient eyes, Red Fox said in an interesting tone. Yeah, Lei Lei responded. The Red Fox hurriedly left. After the Red Fox left the door, Len Ning walked towards Thunder. It's getting late, let's go home together. Lei Lei was stunned. The word go home made him feel a little overwhelmed. Oh, it's gone, Len Ning simply went straight to pull Thunder. Lei Lei did not refuse, and stood up with Len Ning's strength. Mom was still saying yesterday that there are fewer and fewer people eating at home every day. Let's go back to eat with Mom tonight. Seeing Lei Lei looking at the documents on the table, Len Ning tugged on his arm. Things will be settled tomorrow. Do. Since the base became plentiful with supplies, the living standards of people in the base have improved significantly. Nowadays, the restaurants on the street have a much richer menu and even occasionally offer poultry. In addition, the mercenaries are often outside and cannot avoid getting drinks and the like, which also makes the restaurants outside even more lively. Also, because they can drink outside, the Manman team doesn't eat at Lei's house so often. In addition, Sun Chi and his group have been living outside, and now the two gangs have become one. They prefer to stay outside. During this time, Sun Chi and the others were doing missions with Zhou Tao and the others during the day. When they came back at night, they would introduce some powerful mercenaries to Zhou Tao and the others in the restaurant. These days, the Manman squad has become famous and has become the #1 mercenary team in the Thunder base. Thanks to their bragging and praise, Len Ning, their captain, has become a boss-level figure that the mercenaries now fanatically admire. Okay, Lei Lei agreed, and then followed Len Ning out of the office. She should stay with Xiao Ning and her mother. On the way back, Len Ning was like a happy bird, holding Lei Ting's arm and walking, chirping non-stop. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 347. Lei Lei listened and responded from time to time. He was not impatient at all, but in a happy mood. I'm going to take over your appointment as soon as the pharmaceutical factory goes into production, Len Ning said with longing. She would take advantage of this period of time to collect more money to recruit soldiers. Okay. I'll listen to you. Lei Lei's eyes were doting. Back at Lei's house, it turned out that only Lei's mother and brother and sister were having dinner at home in the evening. Len Ning took the opportunity to liven up the atmosphere and made Lei's mother laugh. A happy and harmonious family of 3. That night, Len Ning and Lei Lei sat happily on the swing in the yard, feeling the time flowing happily. While chatting, Len Ning felt sleepy, so he leaned directly on Lei Lei's shoulder. Lei's mother went to find Len Ning and accidentally discovered this scene. There was a bit of surprise on his face at first, and then the surprise turned into joy. She married Lei Ting's father at the age of 18 and gave birth to Lei Ting very early. So much so that Lei Lei is several years older than his best friend's daughter Ning Ning. Because of this reason, she did not insist that Ning Ning and her son fulfill the agreement they made back then. But if Ning Ning... Hey, it's strange that my daughter doesn't like the boys next to her. It turned out to be. Yes, her son is indeed very good. If he really wants to compare him, I'm afraid not many people can compare with him. Looking at this extremely harmonious scene with a smile, Lei Mu turned and left. She decided not to disturb him and let them get along well. At night, Lei's mother had a dream. I dreamed that my son and daughter got married and gave birth to a lively and lovely daughter. The girl was exactly like her daughter when she was a child, happily calling her grandma behind her. This dream is simply not too beautiful. Let her smile in her sleep. The next day, Len Ning arrived at the vegetable base very early. Before it was time to go to work, Len Ning was going to go to the fields to grow some crops, but she saw Li Feng already waiting for her. Li Feng was seen holding a document in his hand, and he immediately came up to her after seeing her. Has the plan been written? Len Ning had some guesses in his mind. Yes. Please read it. Miss Li Feng bowed and presented the document. Len Ning took the file, flipped through it, and walked to the office. Vegetables and food crops are divided into two levels. Crops that can be spawned by level 4 or below superpowers are level 2, and crops that can only be spawned by level 4 or above superpowers are level 1. Different selling standards are implemented for the two levels of crops. The selling price of the first level crops is much higher than that of the second level crops. At the same time, a sales restriction policy is implemented, only a small amount is provided, and the payment method only accepts space jade. For secondary crops, crops that are difficult to process and have light quality need to be sold at a higher price than crops that are difficult to process and have heavy quality. A certain number of crystal cores can be traded, but if the quantity exceeds the price, only space jade can be traded. And each base has a maximum limit on the amount of goods you can take. Even if you use space jade to trade, you must not exceed the limit. Len Ning nodded while reading. First-class crops can only be produced by her. At this time and even for a long time in the future, they can be regarded as scarce products and can indeed be priced higher. Furthermore, she cannot stay in the vegetable base all the time, and it is difficult to guarantee the output. According to Li Feng's plan, she can indeed free up her hands to a great extent and control her daily workload within a certain range. At the same time, the secondary crop growth without her help also allows the wood-type superpowers to cooperate with each other more efficiently. The idea is very good, Len Ning praised after thinking for a while. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Qi Now. Chapter 348. Li Feng scratched his head, a little embarrassed. About specific pricing Len Ning was just about to ask Li Feng what suggestions he had, when he turned to the corresponding price suggestions on the document. The admiration in his eyes was even stronger now. This report is indeed very serious. I set these prices based on yesterday's shipment volume, the selling price at the market, the daily output of our vegetable base and the difficulty of operation by wood-type superpowers. In fact, the plan didn't take him too much thought, and this part of the data was the most labor-intensive. He almost didn't sleep last night because of this report. After integrating the information collected previously, I even spent the night looking for people who knew the relevant situation, and it was not until 4:30 in the morning that I completed the first draft. I was already very sleepy and ready to fall asleep. Thinking of starting well and finishing well, and creating a concise and beautiful document that would be easier for the lady to read, he forcibly gathered his energy and reprinted the document. By the time all this was completed, there were already many days. At this time, he couldn't care less about rest. He picked up the prepared documents and ran to the vegetable base. Along the way, when the cold wind blew, most of the sleepiness disappeared, leaving only a strong feeling of anticipation. I hope I can meet the lady soon and hand in the documents. Before the lady arrived, he had thought about the scene of being praised by the lady several times. When it actually happened, it actually made him happier than he thought. This is the payment for the goods we shipped yesterday, as well as new orders from major bases. Len Ning put away the documents and handed Li Feng what Blue Snake gave him yesterday, I'll leave it to you to arrange. Li Feng was stunned for a moment, his eyes filled with emotion. The lady's trust in him is truly unparalleled. Later, you go to inform the sales department to come to the conference room for a meeting in 10 minutes. Finalize the pricing of all the crops above you, Len Ning continued. In addition, the military department and we will no longer deliver goods to customers' doors. Starting today, the sales department will have to contact these large buyers in person. The rules and regulations must be clearly implemented in the conference room at once. Yes, Li Feng's eyes were filled with excitement. As you can imagine, the vegetable base will soon become more lively. I only have one morning. After the meeting here, you can host the meeting with the production planning department in the afternoon to see how to improve productivity. Yes, Li Feng's heart was filled with excitement. Len Ning finally looked at Li Feng. If it works well this time, I will leave the vegetable base to you to manage. Li Feng's eyes widened. Miss. Don't say anything if you refuse. I know you have this intention, Len Ning said calmly. Otherwise, why would you work so hard? Of course, this is a good thing. She admires such employees. Li Feng buried his head and said nothing. Lu Wenhua is old, and his thinking is not as flexible as yours, and his efficiency is not efficient enough. It's okay for him to maintain his performance, but innovation is too difficult, Len Ning sighed. It's not that it's too difficult, but the pace is too slow. I'll give you a chance to express your ambition. Once you've done your job, you can take Lu Wenhua's seat. Li Feng was surprised. What about Deputy Director Lu? Deputy Director Lu treats people very well and is quite famous in the base. Seeing Len Ning looking at him, Li Feng quickly lowered his head. Give him my position, Len Ning said calmly. She would have to leave the vegetable base sooner or later, and there was no point in using the name of a director. Li Feng was shocked. I felt a little disappointed for a moment. Are you still under Deputy Director Lu? The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Ki Now. Chapter 349. Seeing Li Feng's disappointment, Len Ning raised the corners of his mouth slightly. As I said, Lu Wenhua's temperament is suitable for Xiao Cheng, and the vegetable base will be handed over to him after it is stabilized. As for you, are you not willing to follow me to do something else? She has many more plans, and the vegetable base is just these plans, just the first step. Li Feng is a talent, and of course she can't bear to keep him in the same place as the vegetable base. Li Feng's face suddenly became happy. Yes. Yes, miss, she quickly replied excitedly. Len Ning nodded. Then he took out a bunch of keys from the space ring and threw them to Li Feng. Glancing at Li Feng's confused face after taking it, Len Ning said calmly, this is the key to building F-06 in the villa area. I have already obtained the villa. You can move there with your family after get off work. Li Feng was a little surprised, then ecstatic. Previously, the lady gave Xiao Cheng a house, which was envied by everyone in the vegetable base, including him. Now, miss, what this means is, in addition to you, people from the Manman team will also move there one after another, as well as other important backbones of the fifth branch in the future, Len Ning continued. Zhou Tao and the others have gone crazy wild during this period, and they spend very little time in Lei's house. If they hadn't come to her on their own initiative, it would be difficult for her to meet them. Yesterday, Yuan Xing came to her on behalf of everyone and said that Sun Qi was looking at a house outside and was going to invite them to live together. According to Yuan Xing, they also considered that the people in the four-color group had moved out of Lei's residence one after another, and it would not be appropriate for them to continue living in Lei's residence. Besides, Sun Qi and the others are now their companions. They go out on missions together during the day and live together at night, which makes it easier to communicate about the next day's mission. Generally speaking, they also want to stay with Sun Qi and the others. Thinking of this, Len Ning couldn't help but admire Sun Qi. In such a short period of time, everyone in the Manman team was so reluctant to leave them. He is indeed very capable. But this was a good thing. Harmony among her subordinates was something she wanted to see very much. After seriously considering Yuan Xing's suggestion, she simply asked her eldest brother to buy a villa for them to live alone. It is more than enough for them, Sun Qi's people, and Li Feng to live in a villa. They all live in the same building, so it will be easier for them to communicate with each other in the future. Next, arrange for them to live in a villa area so that it will be easier for her to find someone. Li Feng was shocked again. My heart was shocked. The lady is cultivating him as a confidant. After being shocked, there was a deep emotion. Unexpectedly, before the end of the world, he failed to wait for the opportunity to be favored by his boss, but after the end of the world, he met the lady. The lady is really his great benefactor. Thank you, miss. When Li Feng answered, there was even a hint of tears in his words. Len Ning nodded. Work hard, entering the fifth branch is just the first step. Your goal should not stop at the vegetable base, my goal should not stop at the fifth branch, and the goal of the Thunder base should not stop at City A. In this troubled world, we need to go struggle and fight hard, he sighed. Li Feng was shocked on the spot. Suddenly, he felt that Len Ning's image in his heart suddenly grew several times bigger. He could only stand in front of her and look up. But the young lady is obviously almost a head shorter than him. The lady's style is far beyond his comparison. Following such a master, he will definitely be able to go far and fly high in the future. Thinking of this, Li Feng felt a little surge in his chest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Qi Now. Chapter 350. Yes. I take the order. Li Feng then saluted Len Ning with his fists clasped. Seeing how quickly Li Feng got into the role, Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth with a look of appreciation. It's not urgent to arrange for someone to tidy up the villa yet. You can make arrangements for the housekeeper and servants by yourself. The expenses will be put on the vegetable base's account for the time being, Len Ning continued. Yes, Li Feng responded immediately. You move in first, and the rest of the people will follow one after another. You should pay more attention to the affairs for the time being. You will have the final say in the future of the villa, Len Ning continued. Li Feng is the only one who is good at managing household affairs, but forget about the others. Yes, Li Feng's eyes were excited and he saluted Len Ning again. Okay. I'll go back to the office and look at the information you compiled. When the time comes later, come to the office and call me, Len Ning said and turned around. Yes, Li Feng watched Len Ning leave. Not long after Len Ning returned to the office, Li Feng came to call her for a meeting. At the meeting, Len Ning asked Li Feng to distribute the photocopied materials he had made to all participants. Later, Li Feng was asked to chair the meeting. Everyone expressed their opinions or made suggestions to improve the good proposals. In the end, Len Ning made the final decision and successfully determined the final plan. Then comes the printing, announcement, and posting. At the same time, the tallest building next to the market finally received its name, Leng's Building. The vegetable base sales department is the first batch of employees to settle in Leng's Building, which will gradually become the largest enterprise in the Thunder base. After having a casual meal with Li Feng and giving some final instructions, Len Ning left the vegetable base and went to his own office at the military headquarters. Not long after I sat down, the Red Fox came. I heard from the secretary that you are here. You are very diligent. Red Fox came in, holding the information in his hand and walking towards Len Ning with a smile. Haha, I came over right after I finished my work at the vegetable base. I don't know the situation at the pharmaceutical factory, so I wanted to come over in advance to make up for my lessons, Len Ning said, putting down the materials in his hand. This information should have been sent by Red Fox in the morning. The information is very detailed and very valuable. Unfortunately, it was a bit professional and she couldn't fully understand it. What do you think? Seeing Len Ning being so serious, the Red Fox had a smile on his face. Walking to Len Ning's desk, Red Fox sat down directly on the chair opposite Len Ning. I can only say that the person who wrote the information is very professional. Len Ning curled his lips and said helplessly. Haha, Red Fox was amused. You don't need to understand everything, just a general understanding. Then Red Fox put down the information in his hand. Since everyone is here, let's hurry up, Red Fox said, opening the folder he brought. Len Ning nodded. She also wanted to get to the point early. Finalize the first thing first, the location of the pharmaceutical factory. Red Fox selected a file from the folder, opened it, and handed it to Len Ning. Len Ning was a little confused and lowered his head. Only then did I see that what was written in the document was indeed about the location selection of the pharmaceutical factory. There are a total of 3 options for pharmaceutical factory location selection. One is located next to the military laboratory, the other is located in the back mountain arsenal, and the last one is located in the villa area. These 3 addresses are all good. The pros and cons of each location are also listed above. Which one should you choose? Red Fox said to Len Ning with some envy. The laboratory is the core of the military's scientific research, and the arsenal is the boss's most treasured industry. As for the villa area, the wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 351. All the people living there were high-ranking military officials or other extremely high-status people. Even Lazai was in the villa area. The young lady's pharmaceutical factory has actually been approved to be built in the villa area, so don't take too much care of it. But this is understandable. The juice of Mrs. Wood's spiritual pet is indeed too precious and special. In the future, when the pharmaceutical factory is put into production, the pills produced will be the most effective guarantee for the continuous improvement of the strength of the Thunder base. The existence of these pills can make up for the shortcomings of the crystal core and promote the superpowers to continue to become stronger. Well, Sister Honghu, do you have any suggestions? Len Ning had some ideas in his mind, but wanted to hear Honghu's opinion. The Red Fox was stunned. Then he gave Len Ning a smile and said, if it were me, I would just choose this. Then his slender fingers pointed at the last option. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. Just as she thought. This pill will be the biggest secret of our base. The more secret it is, the better. Although the guards at the arsenal are tighter than at the villa area, it is too far away and it will be troublesome for you to get there. And the laboratory is located in the military headquarters. There are many people and they are afraid that the news will be leaked. If you set up here, you won't have these worries. People on the outside can't get in if they want to inquire, and the people who live inside don't have the courage or inclination to inquire. In addition, it's convenient for you to go there. The main juice can only be provided by ladies, and the owner of the pharmaceutical factory is also a lady. These things must be considered comprehensively. Then choose this place. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth, quickly picked up the pen, and checked the third option. Red Fox felt relieved and took the information back from Len Ning's hand. After putting it in the folder, she was given a second document. This is the renovation plan and budget for the selected villa. Take a look and tell me if you have any questions. Len Ning glanced at Red Fox, took the document and opened it. She couldn't understand those structural diagrams and the like. But that doesn't matter, she believes in Red Fox's arrangements. Turning directly to the end, Len Ning saw the budget figures. Looking up at the Red Fox. This number is not small. Seeing the Red Fox smiling at her. The boss didn't say that the money to build the pharmaceutical factory would be spent by the military, so you can only pay it yourself. Of course, It also includes the money for choosing a location for the villa. Well, because Thunder Base is under construction and the soldiers need to constantly consume crystal cores to increase their strength, the money in the military accounts is really stretched. If this matter were brought to the attention of the boss, he would most likely lend money to the young lady. But she didn't dare to do this. After setting up this pharmaceutical factory, not to mention mechanical equipment and other things, the number of villas selected for the location is quite large. If her 3 colleagues knew that she took the initiative to obtain such a large sum of money for the young lady, they would not know how to squeeze her later. Of course, she also wanted to save some money for the military. As one of the 4 hall masters, she, like the other 3, is also waiting for military expenses to make a living. If the military department allocated such a large amount of money to the young lady, the amount she would receive at the beginning of the month would also be reduced accordingly. The lady owns half of the shares of the vegetable base. The business is booming and the wealth is rolling in. This little money is nothing to her. Hey, the boss has been too active recently. The base's big income is just that, really. Seeing that Len Ning didn't speak, Red Fox said with a bitter look on his face. She was afraid that Len Ning would say that she was going to her elder brother to approve the payment. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth slightly and signed his name with a pen. Okay, I'll pay the money. Then he took out a space jade directly from his space ring and handed it to Red Fox.